What did you see with the DeRozan incident?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear just league wide that the number of fouls called prior to the All-Star break. There's fewer now. Teams are not getting to the free throw line. Like we normally would have. I think I said this. It's our responsibility to adjust to officiating, to adjust to that. There was probably some missed calls when DeMar went to the basket a couple times. I think Vooch got hit too. And that being said, they probably felt the same way on some of their drives. And I think DeMar jumped out. I personally did not feel. He definitely was, I think, going to foul him, but I don't think I felt it warranted a flagrant 2. They did live with it. And then I really didn't see anything because I was watching the officials. Then I guess Dylan Brooks kind of came over, but I just saw him and DeMar locked up. I didn't see how that got escalated.
Is it? I mean, you're not the only one to talk about it with the fouls. Is it them getting teams ready for the playoffs? Is it what? I mean, what?
Well, the stat I heard, and I don't. The stat I had heard, and I don't know if today it's still actually true, but if you take the team that was 15th in the league shooting free throws of 30 teams, that team's at 15, right?
Okay.
Prior to the All-Star break, that team would be 15th. That team that's 15th, looking at post All-Star break, would now be 29th.
Okay.
So there is, but like, I think you can sense that there's more physicality. You can sense that stuff. But I think what happens sometimes is, as guys are having to adjust, sometimes emotions can run high. And listen, we have to control ourselves and we have to adjust to the officials. I think the crew that was on the game tonight is a good crew. They're good guys. I think they work extremely hard. But I think what happens is when you have a situation where you go through part of the year and you're used to certain fouls being called and they're not being called over a period of time, it sometimes can get frustrating. But with that being said, we have to control ourselves and focus in on what we've got to do, in those moments. And I understand, for our guys, as much as they put into it and as much as DeMar throughout his career has been to the free throw line, there is a point in time where you feel like, okay, that those should be called, and they weren't. But we got to be able to move on and regroup and continue to play.
There were some other chippy moments too. Did you just feel it was kind of one of those games where, Houston's up and coming, they have a certain attitude, whether it's with the new culture of the coach or adding Dylan Brooks? I mean, it just seems like there was a chippiness basically from the end of that first quarter on. I think it was after there was a couple incidents with Vooch being backed in with Brooks. And it just seemed like that game was very throwback playoff.
Yeah, no, I think that I thought that was the difference. To be honest with you, in the first quarter, is I thought their physicality against us, on loose balls, at the basket, on the glass, offensive rebounding, out in transition. I thought. Vooch trying to get post-up position and sealing, and, they're grabbing, holding, and fighting as a smaller guy, and that's what, you want your team to do, and they're battling, competing. I felt like that was part of the reason why I went big, was to neutralize some of that stuff, where we could have maybe a little bit more force against force in that situation. I thought our guys responded to that and dealt with the physicality of the game, but certainly to your point, I think it felt that way.
And what do you think of Io tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I've been, challenging him on is the consistency part. And again, I'm not really basing it on the scoring, although he's had some pretty good scoring nights these last 3 games. I think it's how he's playing. He's getting downhill. He's making good decisions. He's taking the shots that are high percentage, good shots for him. And I think he's making good decisions with the ball. So just need him to continue to emerge and continue to get better. I think, I was really pleased with Kobe tonight, the way he looked physically. I thought he had really good bounce. His legs looked back under him. He'll get his timing back once he starts to play a little bit more, but I thought physically he looked good.
Was he on a restriction?
Yeah.
Did he kind of overblow that restriction?
I don't know, it was right around 28 is what it was. It may have been a minute or so over there, but it was something, they wanted him below 30, preferably 28. Yeah, I was trying to, just kind of shorten the game for him.
Gotcha.
What did you see in the scuffle between DeMar and Dylan, and also just how?
Yeah, just kind of let up beforehand. I think, There was some contact on some drives, some fouls, previous calls that were not called. Obviously, DeMar jumped out off of that screen and fouled Green. After the foul, because when the officials went to the review, I didn't really see what happened. All I did was when I looked over, I just saw Brooks and DeMar tangled up, and then after that, it kind of, I think everybody was trying to break it up, and sometimes when you do that, people look like they're trying to jump in, but inevitably it got broken apart.
I think Coach key was to lose DeMar at that point of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you lose good players, it's never good. I think. I don't think DeMar's intention was to get a flagrant 2. Certainly he was fouling, and even if it was a flagrant 1 and they're shooting a free throw, I don't think that was ever his intention, was to do that. I actually was a little bit surprised that it got elevated to a flagrant 2 personally.
Thank you, Coach.
Any
Thank you.
questions for us?